Colombian prosecutor Luis Adriana Camargo and Venezuelan prosecutor Tarek William Saab discussed a cooperation mechanism to control paramilitary threats in their countries. The United Nations condemned Israel for maintaining the blockade on humanitarian aid to the Gaza Strip. And in Niger, authorities declared a curfew in several cities after a mass escape from a maximum security prison was confirmed. Hello and welcome to From the South. I'm Alejandra Garcia from teleSUR Studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. Colombian prosecutor Luis Adriana Camargo and Venezuelan prosecutor Tarek William Saab discussed a cooperation mechanism to control paramilitary threats in their countries. The head of the Venezuelan Public Prosecutor's Office reported on the telematic meeting with his Colombian counterpart and members of their respective offices. William Saab informed they discussed international criminal cooperation mechanisms for the exchange of information on the denunciation made by a Colombian paramilitary group which claimed to have been contacted by the Venezuelan extreme right to carry out terrorist actions in the electoral context. Both offices agreed to mutual legal assistance regarding 6 items, one of them related to the creation of a joint investigation team. President Nicolás Maduro reiterated his condemnation against attempts by the Venezuelan extreme right wing to generate violence in the country. President Maduro called for the preservation of peace in the face of conspiracy plans sponsored by the extreme right wing. The statements took place after the recent declarations of the former Colombian paramilitary commander Salvatore Mancuso, where he revealed links between factors of the extreme right wing and paramilitary groups to plan fascist actions. In this context, the leader assured that the strength of the people will succeed in defeating any attempt to undermine the peace of the country.
Y cuidar la paz de los conspiradores.
And take care of peace of the conspirators who go to Colombia looking for paramilitaries to come and kill people here. As the denunciation has come out, it is not new. They did it against Chavez 20 years ago. One of the paramilitary commanders spoke from prison, known as Mancuso, denounced Capriles Randowski, the former governor Enrique Mendoza, who passed away. Enrique Mendoza and Capriles were denounced by the same paramilitary chief, Mancuso, who was the commander of the Castaño, said that Capriles was the one who went looking for him to come and kill Chavez and carry out a coup in 2004. It was Enrique Mendoza. 20 years later, they are doing the same thing, looking for criminals to try to kill me, to try to hurt the country. They don't know that we have the 2 most powerful forces that anyone can have. One is the strength and the blessing of God, and the other is the strength and the blessing of the people. And we are on the path of life, of hope, and of truth.
And we go now to Caracas, where our special envoy, Yunus Suner, has the latest in this presidential campaign. Hi, Yunus.
Good afternoon. I'm greeting you today, right now, from Caracas, Venezuela, from the Ministry of Defense, and actually from the Simón Bolívar Hall of Fame inside the Ministry of Defense. Just minutes ago, the UN panel representatives Domenico Tuccinardi and Gianluca Rampolla del Tindero finished their press conference here behind me after having met the Minister of Defense, Vladimir Padrino Lopez, previously today's morning. Now, what's going on? Why do UN experts meet the Minister of Defense? The explanation is the following. In Venezuela, there is the so-called Republic Plan. That means that the Bolivarian National Armed Forces are responsible to take care of security and peace previous to the elections, during the election day, and afterwards. That means, in concrete, they have the responsibility to maintain security in the election centers on July 28. That means more than 15,000 election centers, electoral centers, will be controlled, maintained, and surveyed by the armed forces. And right now, as we have reported before, there are the educating electoral fairs all over the town, which already have soldiers present at them. So the panels of the United Nations, the experts of the United Nations, are visiting Venezuela on, this is important, invitation of the Venezuelan National Election Council. That means they are not being sent on decision by the UN General Assembly or the United Nations Security Council, but by invitation of the Venezuelan authorities themselves. What are they doing here? They are surveying the electoral process. They are meeting up with different authorities. They have obviously already met with the National Election Council, and yesterday they have met with the Foreign Minister of Venezuela, Ivan Gil. Today they met with the Armed Forces head and also Minister of Defense, Vladimir Padrino Lopez, and they were delivered a presentation on how that process works and how the armed forces support the election of and provide the security of citizens and ballot boxes and voting machines as well. So what will the panels, the experts, the UN experts do? They will not provide any evaluation, any public evaluation of the legitimacy or recognizing the election or something similar. But after the elections are over, they will send a confidential report to the UN Secretary General with recommendations for previous elections that might happen, that will happen here in Venezuela. That means their role is pretty limited, but they are, as I said, meeting up with different political actors. They announced that they will meet also political parties in the country. In the press conference, Domenico Tuchinardi Gianluca Rampolla del Tindero qualified the meeting with the armed forces as very positive. They said they found a very positive environment, and they announced, as I said, to meet up with the other political parties and actors. The Minister of Defense had in the morning declared before the press that they are committed to support Venezuelan democracy, that they absolutely act within the framework that the National Electoral Council provides them, and they are keen to support the Venezuelan people, to express their political will via the elections. The minister also emphasized their increasing role after the 1999 constitution, which added more electoral centers to be spread all over the country to enable rural areas and poorer people to participate in the participatory democracy of Venezuela. The general and minister has emphasized their strong commitment to the popular will and to the established democratic system here in Venezuela. So both sides have exchanged their views, and the panels will visit other people, other actors. Meanwhile, the armed forces are preparing to take on their task to ensure a sure, safe, secure day, electoral day. I'm told by some that more than 300,000 personnel, both military and police, might participate on that day to make sure that the will of the Venezuelan people is reflected safely and surely in the ballot boxes.
Thank you, Yunus, for all the valuable information from site. We'll contact you again following all the updates from the Venezuelan election campaign. That was teleSUR Special Envoy Jonas Sunar coming to us live from Venezuela. And at this moment, we go to Brazil, where the federal police began this Thursday to investigate an illegal espionage network established in the intelligence agencies of Jair Bolsonaro's government. In a statement, the federal police informed that the objective of the investigations is to dismantle a criminal organization created to illegally monitor public authorities and produce false notes using systems of the Brazilian intelligence. It also detailed that federal police officers are serving 5 preventive arrest warrants and 7 search and seizure warrants issued by the Federal Supreme Court in the cities of Brasilia, Curitiba, Juiz de Fora, Salvador and Sao Paulo. Let's take a short break, but remember you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you'll find news in different formats, news updates, and more. Don't go away. Stay with us. Welcome back. The United Nations Human Rights Council approved on Thursday a resolution calling for greater support from the international community for the implementation of the Colombian peace accords. The resolution also calls for the cooperation of the Office of the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights to implement the recommendations of the international expert Chilean Antonia Urrejola, who was tasked with identifying obstacles to the implementation of the 2016 agreement. The text recommended the Colombian Attorney General's office to investigate the complaints filed last year by the Special Jurisdiction for Peace. Also, in the context of the 2016 agreement, the President of Colombia, Gustavo Petro, attended on Thursday the presentation to the United Nations Security Council of the second quarterly monitoring report on its implementation and pointed out that the objectives proposed have yet to be achieved. On Thursday, the President of the United States, Joseph Biden, failed to convince the crowd and viewers when speaking at the NATO summit to reassure voters of his suitability to defeat Trump in the upcoming November elections. Following the rejection of 13 congressmen from his party, a historic drop in polls, and the withdrawal of important contributors, Biden tried to reassure the masses. This way, he made a detailed account of his medical checkups and reiterated that he would go ahead in the race because he had already defeated Trump and is confident in doing it a second time. Regardless, a poll released at the end of the press conference showed that 63% of voters rate both candidates as disgraceful, as concerns remain for the president's fitness to serve a second term after committing serious errors during his statements.
Look, I wouldn't have picked Vice President Trump to be Vice President, but I think she was not qualified to be President. Now I want to hand it over to the President of Ukraine, who has as much courage as he has determination. Ladies and gentlemen, President Putin. President Putin. He's going to beat President Putin. President Zelensky. I'm so focused on beating Putin, we got to worry about it. Anyway.
On Thursday, the United Nations condemned Israel for maintaining the blockade on humanitarian aid to the Gaza Strip. In this sense, the statement stressed that 90% of the population of this region is exposed to the most severe levels of hunger. Precisely, according to official figures, more than 20 children under the age of 10 have already died of starvation, and thousands are suffering from different degrees of malnutrition. On the other hand, the World Health Organization said that only 5 trucks carrying aid have been allowed into the country in the last week. At least 3 Palestinian civilians were killed on Friday after an Israeli airstrike on a residential building in the central Gaza Strip. Palestinian media also reported that several injured people, including a girl, were transferred to Al-Auda hospital in the town of Nusayrat as a result of the airstrike. On the other hand, Israeli forces committed 2 massacres in the Gaza Strip during the last 24 hours since Thursday, resulting in the confirmed death of at least 50 Palestinians and the wounding of 54 others. The Gaza Strip Health Ministry confirmed that the number of Palestinians killed by the Israeli genocidal operation exceeds 38,000 and more than 88,000 injured. About 60 bodies of slain Palestinians were recovered Thursday after a prolonged Israeli ground offensive in the eastern Gaza neighborhood of Shuhaija, although the number is estimated to be higher. Due to Israeli air and ground attacks, 85% of Shuhaija's residential buildings have been left uninhabitable and also desolate, while a medical clinic serving more than 60,000 citizens was destroyed. This has aggravated the humanitarian crisis. Israeli forces continue to raid the Tel Hawa neighborhood and several others in Gaza City, systematically targeting all aspects of life. The Palestinian resistance movement assured that the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is personally responsible for the failures in all negotiation attempts. Hussein Radan, an official of the Palestinian resistance movement Hamas, stated so to a Qatari media outlet and granted that all sides involved are aware of it. Radan explained that all ceasefire negotiations, including the current one, have been disrupted by Netanyahu and his right-wing cabinet. The authority asserted that the U.S. is aware of it and added that the Israeli regime is trying to hold Hamas accountable. He reaffirmed that the Zionist Prime Minister has not shown any real positive sign that could lead to a solution. We have a final short break coming up, but before we invite you to join our WhatsApp community for our English-speaking audience. You can scan the QR code on screen to join directly and share the link to reach more people. Constant news coverage reflecting America and the Caribbean, as well as the rest of the world. Final short break. Don't go away. Welcome back to From the South. In Niger, authorities declared a curfew in several cities after a mass escape of inmates from a maximum security prison was confirmed. This way, an unspecified number of prisoners escaped from the high-security prison of Koutou-Calais, located about 50 kilometers northwest of Niamey in the region of Tillabéri, southwest of Niger. According to local sources, the detainees managed to take control of the penitentiary institution during a riot, later from the premises. In the context, the government has imposed a curfew on the Tillabéri region and a blockade on the whole area, with active search operations underway. The prison is found to be the place of confinement of numerous members of terrorist groups. More than 60 people are missing in Nepal after a landslide caused by heavy rains in the area swept away 2 passenger buses in the center of the Asian country. According to the official, at least 3 of the 66 passengers managed to get out before the vehicles plunged into the Trishuli River and are now being treated at a nearby hospital. The Chitwan district chief reported that personnel from the police, army and armed police force arrived at the landslide site to conduct search and rescue operations. Nepal police reported that at least 11 people were killed in Kaski district the day before in a landslide caused by heavy rains in the area. Japan's local police and fire departments reported on Friday that 3 people were missing after their home was buried in a landslide in a residential area as a result of the heavy rains affecting the west of the Asian country. The incident took place at dawn in Matsuyama town, Ehime Prefecture, where the Japan Meteorological Agency is maintaining an alert for heavy rains, storms, floods, and possible landslides in low-lying areas. Local media report that before 4 a.m. local time, a mountainside near houses and apartment blocks in a residential area collapsed in a 50-meter wide by 100-meter high strip, and authorities confirmed that 3 residents were unable. The Paris 2024 mascot is Olympic French, a name that comes from the traditional small Phrygian caps from which the mascots take their shape. The name and design were chosen as symbol of freedom and to represent allegorical figures of the Republic of France, as the vision of Paris 2024 is to demonstrate that sport can change lives. Mascots will play an important role leading the revolution through sport. The Olympic French, created by the game's design team, is decked out in blue, white and red, the colors of the French tricolor flag, with the Gold Paris 2024 logo on its chest. The motto of the Olympic French and the Paralympic French is "Alone we go faster, but together we go further." We have come to the end of this news brief, but you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net and join us on social media, Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram and TikTok as well. For TeleSUR English, I'm Alejandra Garcia. Thank you for watching.